So we're continuing with this series on people who met Jesus. And today we're going to look at two people. They just happen to be in the same area at the same time. But there's something so common. There's something common about the two of them, and there's something so significant about their meeting Jesus. We can look at this from the book of Luke. In Luke chapter 8, we can just go through the story and then we'll see the various things that were happening here. In Luke chapter 8, verse 40, look at it from verse 40 to 56. Let's see how far we go. When Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him. That means there were a lot of people who were very keen to meet with Jesus. Very unusual. Most of the time, when he went to places like that, people were against him. But in this particular instance, they were expecting him. They were all expecting him. And then, just then, when everybody was around him, a man called Jarius came. He was a leader of the synagogue. So he fell down at Jesus' feet and pleaded with him to come to his house. Now we need to understand that this is a leader in the synagogue. So that means that he was one of those people who normally will be criticizing Jesus. Jesus and the religious authorities didn't see eye to eye because Jesus was too radical for them. Jesus walked with sinners, he ate with sinners, he healed on the Sabbath. There were so many things that Jesus did that was contrary to what the religious leaders wanted or expected. But this particular one came to see Jesus in public, not like Nicodemus, of course, came to see Jesus in public, and then he must have had an issue. Something must be so important to him that he needed to see and did not care what was going on. He just needed to see Jesus. So why did he come? So he was asking Jesus to come to his house. It's very interesting that last week we were looking at Zacchaeus, who Jesus said, Zacchaeus, I am going to your house. But in this instance, this is a man asking Jesus to come to his house. Very interesting difference in those two events. Why? Because he had an only daughter, about 12 years old, who was at death's door. She was very, very ill. She was in fact dying. So that was why he was saying to Jesus to come to his house, because he had heard that, well, if Jesus could come, Jesus might be able to do something. And if only Jesus could just come to his house, maybe his daughter will be healed. So the Bible gives us an impression here that Jesus was willing to do that. But something has happened in the midst of all this. Whilst he was going, that is going to the man's house with the man, the crowd were nearly crushing him. That's Jesus. A woman suffering from bleeding for 12 years had spent all she had on doctors, yet she could not be healed by any. Now, very interesting here that the number 12 is very curious. A child who is 12 years old and a woman who has been suffering for 12 years. It seems as if in the lives of these two people who were about to encounter Jesus, something happened 12 years ago in each of their lives. In one person's life, there was joy. A child was born. He had given back to a daughter, and there was celebration. In another person's life, as in the woman, a disease, an illness came upon her that was to plague her for 12 years. Somehow, around the same time, two different things were happening in these two families, to these two people, but they were about to meet Jesus at the same point. So a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years, she spent all her money on the doctors and yet could not be healed. So there is one difference here. The woman approached from behind and touched the tassel of his garment. Instantly, her bleeding stopped. Just understand what's going on here. There is a man called Jarius. He comes over and speaks to Jesus and says to Jesus, please, please, I want you to come to my house. My daughter is dying. There's another woman. There's a woman in the crowd who did not speak to Jesus, but did something and touched the hem of Jesus' garment. Touched the hem of Jesus' garment. Two separate things. One person was speaking, the other was acting. To the person who was acting, there was something there that happened. So, what happened? Who touched me? Jesus asked. Very interesting question. Because when they all denied it, Peter then said, Master, the crowd are hemming you in and pressing against you. Pressing against you. So, Master, you trust Peter to be the one that will observe that. What are you talking about, Jesus? Everybody is pushing against you here. How can you ask that question, who touched me, when everybody is pushing against you and wanting to see you and, be close to you? But Jesus said something. Someone touched me. Jesus said, I know that power has gone out from me. In the midst of all this, everybody around Jesus, talking, rubbing with him, there was a touch that was different from every contact that was around him. A woman who had been suffering touched the hem of Jesus' garment with faith. Touched the hem of Jesus' garment with a purpose. And that purpose brought a result that only Jesus knew had taken place in his body. There was something about her faith that connected to something in Jesus that brought an instant reaction that made Jesus recognize the difference. You know something? It is possible for everybody to be around Jesus. It is possible for all of us to be worshiping God, to go to church, to do all those things. But you know, the only time when there's a difference is when we have the faith to touch him. I didn't realize that it is possible for everybody to be around, everybody to be listening to him, for him to be talking to people. It's only takes somebody with faith. That's what the example of it is, that we are all in this church. It's possible for somebody to come into this church, not to speak to anybody, or just sit at the back there. And then we're preaching, singing, worshiping God, praying, and they go out of here with a power from God that supersedes everything, including the pastor, including all the things that we're doing, all the singing, dancing. We are in around Jesus, but they come in here with a faith that says, if only I could go to that church, if only I could just sing a song in that place, if only I can believe what was said there, then my issue will be resolved. It's possible for somebody to come in here, not speak to anybody, and leave this place transformed. And yet the rest of us will think that was a good time. We had a good time with Jesus today. It was wonderful. Jesus was so good. We really had a good time. And that was beautiful service. Well done, Pastor. Because your message was good and whatever. And our lives were not touched. And somebody just walked in because of their faith. This is what was happening to this woman. The woman that was not named. Just like a man or a woman that walks into this place for the first time or whatever and is not named. And they get touched. So Jesus said, who touched me? And then the woman. When the woman saw that she was discovered, she came trembling and fell down before him. In the presence of all the people, she declared the reason she had touched him and how she was instantly cured. So this is now revelation time now. I better confess. So the woman came out and confessed. I said, oh, I'm the one, it's me. You could just imagine how sheepish she would have looked. Just nose off, it's me. Because she didn't think she thought, oh, I'm in trouble now. Somehow I have taken power out of him without permission. I have defiled him in some way because Jesus said, I noticed that something left me. Who touched me? And the woman thought, oh, I'm in trouble. I should have asked him first. After all, that Jarius guy had asked him and said, come to my house, and was just going, and I just come in, find my way through the thing, and touch the hem of his garment. The Bible does not tell us what she was expecting as reply, but you could see that by that phrase, when the woman saw that she was discovered, she was trembling and fell down before him. That was a woman who was afraid, who felt this is trouble, who felt I'm probably going to get in a worse state, which will stone me to death. What have I done? So she fell and she confessed. Jesus' reaction was now very different. Jesus said to her, daughter, he said to her, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Friends, I want to tell you something about Jesus here. It seems very clearly that when it comes to God, that statement that I have prepared a table before you in the presence of your enemies. Remember the psalm? Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. It seems to me that from this story, that there was healing available in that place. There was transformation available in that place. Jesus was there. That the power to heal was there, and it only required faith to get it. It did not require a conversation. It does not require a lot of understanding. It does not require you to be the disciple. It does not require you to have followed him. It just required a faith to get it. So it means that God can prepare a table before us, but it requires us to have the faith to eat the food. But most of the time, we're praying for the table to be prepared. That woman, whose name we don't know, never prayed a prayer except she had a faith in her. She never said, I'm going to ask him, maybe, Lord, will you heal me? Bearing in mind that we have another man we are going to his house who came to ask for something. So we're still going to that one, but bearing in mind we have a man who came and said, come to my house. My daughter is ill, is dying, come. So we're on the way to somewhere, but the Bible wants us to know that actually because Jesus is present, faith will get you what you want. Faith will transform your situation. Because he is present. So Jesus said to her, very simple, what has done it? Was it her prayer? Was it her fasting? Was it her religious act? No. Jesus said to her, your faith, which means, that faith means that your belief that I can do something about your situation has now, that's your belief, strong belief, unshaking belief that I can do something about your situation. That is what has enabled you to be healed. Go in peace means go without condemnation. Go without sorrow. Go without regret. Because your faith has made you whole. Very interesting. That means that this is the first time we have seen where Jesus met somebody and he didn't speak to them, but they were transformed. Many of the people that we have met, we have been talking about in the last few weeks, when Jesus met them, they had a conversation. This one, she was transformed because of her faith. So, that if that was the whole story, that was good enough. But something else was happening there. Because you remember we are on the way to somebody's house. This is just something that's happened along the way. And while he was still speaking, whilst Jesus was still speaking to this lady, someone came from the synagogue's leader's house, saying, your daughter is what? Dead. Don't bother the teacher anymore. Change of plans, guys. Your daughter is gone. Let's not worry about that. So teacher, just go and do something else. Let's go somewhere else. He's a busy man. He's got a big schedule. Your daughter is what? Dead. Don't bother the teacher anymore. Don't bother Jesus anymore. You shouldn't be coming all the way to your house when your daughter is already gone. Sorry, mate. Funeral arrangements. Remember that Jesus left to go to the woman's house, to the man's house. Now, the story is now that the daughter is dead. When Jesus heard it, he answered him, don't be afraid, only believe, and she will what? She will be made well. Hey, when somebody is dead, how can they be made well? That means life has left them. He said, don't be afraid, only believe, and she will be made well. What Jesus was saying to Jairus is saying, we are on the way to somewhere. You stay with me. You came to me to ask for something. Now you've had another news. Don't change what you came to ask for. Just let's continue with this journey. Let's continue with what we're doing, because the information that has come now has come to change your mind. The information has come to transform how you're thinking. He has come to derail you. The news has come to you to say it's over. So there you are. You have this man. There you are. You have this man whose daughter has just been pronounced dead. Can you just imagine what if the daughter was already dead and he came looking for Jesus? He would have come with a faith that can raise a daughter. The faith that Jairus came with is the faith that can heal a child. He came with a faith and a belief that I have seen him heal people before. So he had a reputation. So Jairus came with a level of faith that was good enough to heal a child. Now the news came by WhatsApp, people, email, telephone, whatever way we get our news. And the news came and said, that's your faith that you had. The faith to heal a child that you have, that faith is no longer valid because the situation has gotten worse. Whenever we get into a place of faith, you are believing God for something, and we even in our mind say yes. We feel good for being able to trust God for something. Then something happens that makes that our faith look small to what we now need. Jairus believed Jesus for healing. Now he has been confronted with a dead daughter. So Jairus had two choices. Either he scales up his faith, or he gives up. I said, don't worry, don't bother anymore. And he starts to cry, and he starts to think the worst. Jesus knew that was a very critical point in Jairus' life. What he did next would be important. So Jesus was not going to stay there and say, let's just see what he will do. Now, me and you might be, because we have a kind of very kind of mind. But let's just wait and see. Jesus wasn't ready to test Jairus to see whether Jairus would be able to say, yeah, okay, let's just keep quiet. Jesus immediately offered reassurance. Don't be afraid. Only believe and she will be made well. There's something we need to understand here. Simple thing. Remember that woman who we don't know her name had just been healed because she had the audacity to have the faith to touch Jesus. Now, Jesus is saying something here. He said, Jairus, I want to help you, But there is a limit to what I can do for you. I can go to your house. I can do this. Unless you believe, there is no way it's going to happen. There is still something that Jarius had to do in this whole process. There was still an element of faith, belief that was necessary for anything to change. Even though Jesus was willing to go with him. Jesus was happy to go to his house. Jesus had not given up. So it means that there are many things that God had promised us, many things that God has promised us that we have not received, not because God had given up believing, but because we have given up believing. Jairus could have said, you don't need to come. Let us forget it. It's too late now. I've got things to arrange. Thank you very much for your help. But Jairus, somehow, I suppose from where he was, they were like, okay, well, the man still feels that he can do something. So let's just continue. So off they went to the house. Of course, by the time, you have to remember, this is the only daughter this man has got. And by the time they got to the house, everybody was crying and mourning for her. Everybody was crying. Everybody was crying. I watched a movie yesterday, a Nigerian movie on Netflix. For those who are Nigerians, you need to watch that. It's called, what was it? Chief Daddy. You need to watch it. It's so funny, but very interesting. Chief Daddy. And then everybody was crying. You see, in that culture, you can even employ, what do you call these people? Mourners who will cry on your behalf. Because the ability to show that somebody has really, really died is the ability to how much crime takes place in a place, show how good or how important the person who has died is. So, I can imagine they had some even hired mourners there. And those people, they can roll on the floor, they will cry, they don't even know the name of the person who died. It's a job God doing here, it's a job God doing well. So Jesus now said to them, stop crying, for she is not dead, but asleep. It's amazing how Jesus sees things differently. We need to ask that Jesus will give us the eye to see things the way he sees it. Because let's look at it biologically, physically, this child is dead. But it seems that Jesus sees things in a different realm. There is a realm that he sees things that is above and superior to the physical realm. Remember, he said, believe and she'll be well. So Jesus does not even see, accept a dead person. On getting there, he said to them, she is not dead, but asleep. Unless we have that sense to be able to tap into that supernatural eye or horizon of seeing things, we will always operate at the physical. And that's why we don't love Jesus. That's why we don't care for him. Like I said earlier on, all the people that were around him were touching him, were being there, he was talking to them. But it takes only a woman of faith to touch without permission. That woman was operating in a realm that was different from all the people that were touching. In the same way, somebody might walk in here today again, sit there at the back there, not speak to anybody, not being a member of this church, never been here before, and live here totally transformed. Because he came with a belief that I can go to a church today. I can just believe and pray there. God will do it. And we who are the real members and pastor and whatever, we enjoy all the thing, the music, the whatever, and we go away with exactly the way we came, of feeling happier that we have been with God. The crowd was there, touching Jesus, but it took one person to have a different faith. Now, you need to understand that people. I love the Bible because the Bible doesn't. The Bible has time. When the Bible tells the story, the Bible has time to tell you what was going on in a place, because whatever the Bible tells you, He wants you to learn from it. So what happened? Why should they have time? With all that needs to be recorded in this Bible, why should verse 53 exist? They started to laugh at him because they knew she was dead. A time will come in our lives, unless people start to laugh at us because of our faith, it has not got to that level. A time will come when people have to start laughing at our faith, at what we say we believe. They start to make jests of it. I say, what? Joker, how can they believe that? What do you think you are? Until we get to that level, we're still operating at a lower level than the table that has been prepared before us. They started laughing at him. What a ridiculous statement. Can you imagine what Jesus said was so funny that the people who were crying a few seconds ago burst out laughing? This was just so preposterous, so ridiculous. How can anybody come here and say such a foolish thing like this? We all know she's dead. And he's coming here and he's saying that he's not dead. They were laughing at Jesus. Laughing at how ridiculous he is. Is this guy, where is he from? Mars? Who does he think he is? This child is dead and he's saying he's asleep. The kind of faith when you walk with Christ, the kind of faith that you need to have is the kind of faith that may result in people laughing at you for believing what you believe. I don't like this, the next part of this version, because this version missed out something very important. Can somebody open another version? Because there's something that happened between their laughing and what happens next. Open from verse, let's do for verse 55 onward and see what is, and then we go to verse 57. Let's see. Sorry, yeah. You do 54, yeah. Do 54.
52, that's NKJV.
Yes, that's
so
it.
Now, all wept and mourned for her.
Yes.
But he said, do not weep.
Yes.
She is not dead.
Yes.
She's sleeping.
Yes.
And they ridiculed him,
Yes.
knowing that she was dead.
Mm-hmm.
But he put them all outside,
Mm-hmm.
took her by the hand,
Mm-hmm.
and called, saying, little girl, arise. Then her spirit returned, and she arose immediately.
Yes. Maybe it's Matthew. One of the versions said, so when Jesus got there, Jesus said to them, okay, look, listen, I'm going inside. Father, mother, John, James, and Peter, come with me. The rest of you stay outside. My Bible have been in the book of Matthew. So the people that went in to where the child was was not actually the whole crowd. He didn't do everything in front of this laughing crowd, in front of this crowd that don't believe, these people that don't have the faith. So he said, okay, father, mother, Jarius, where's your wife? Okay, Peter, remember that there were more disciples than Peter, James, and John.
Mark chapter 5.
Mark. Please read that.
Yeah, Mark 5, as soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he said to the woman of the synagogue, "Do not be afraid, only believe." And he permitted no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. Then he came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue and saw the tumult and those who wept and wailed without him. When he came in, he said to them, "Why make this commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they ridiculed him. But when he had put them all outside, he took the father and the mother of the child and those who were with him and entered where the child was lying. Then he took the child by the hand and said to her, "Talitha Kum," which is translated, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." Immediately the girl arose and walked, for she was 12 years of age. And they were overcome with great amazement. That's verse 43. But he commanded them strictly that no one should know it, and said that something should be given out.
Very interesting. So we need to understand that sometimes you come to a place in your life where the crowd cannot go with you anymore to the place of faith you're going. You've got to leave some nice people that you love outside. You've got to stop talking to some people that will bring down your faith, and you've got to go only with a few that can go with you into that place of faith. Because the worst thing that would have happened there was for people to be jeering. He says Jesus needed faith around him. Even though we're talking about Jesus, he needed faith around him to heal the child. So can you imagine, oh, it's a joker, and they'll do it will have not worked. There's something about the environment and the atmosphere in which something operates. Remember that Jesus went to a place and said, "I could not do any miracle there," because they could not believe. It's not because Jesus did not have the power, just that the table was laid before them and nobody was going to eat. So he gets in there and then he told the child to get up. Now there's something very funny here. Why is it that having done this thing, why did Jesus say that statement to them? Do not tell what? Remember that this child did not come out. So it talked about the matter of the healing. But Jesus was saying that the process that this took place has to be something that was unique to the people who had the faith to receive it. Because next to everybody else, do you know when we got there? He held 2 fingers first, then he held 5 fingers first, then he said this, he said that. Can you imagine? That's how you and I would narrate the story. We would narrate everything he said. People saw the result, but did not see the process. They saw the result because the child came out, but they did not see the process. Because Jesus was not going to put pearls among swines. Sometimes when we talk about testimony, we need to be careful who we are talking our testimony to. Because there's sometimes when people just need to see that God has done it for you. Praise God. When you don't need to actually tell them the nitty-gritty of it. Because sometimes those things can be mocked. And then, why do you think? It wasn't because of the parents. It was so that sin would not come on the hearers. By the time God has done something for me, and I wasn't supposed to tell you everything, and I told you word for word, and you begin to mock it, you become your sinning. I have put you into a position where you are ridiculing the Almighty. And I don't have to. So we need to understand that sometimes we don't need to tell the process of the nitty-gritty of how God did it. Everybody says, oh, you are well. Yes, we thank God. Because our idea is that, oh, maybe if we tell them the whole process, they will have faith. There are people that God will give that need that kind of faith. So that's why he didn't go alone. He took people who had the faith to see and hear, and he warned them, don't tell anybody what you have seen here. But everybody saw the outcome, the result of the event, because the child came out and ate. And I'll just end there. But I also want to make us understand something. And the Bible tells us this many times, we've seen it. It's a kind of supernatural and natural existence. God is this way God just he moves into the supernatural and then comes out into the natural. Moves into this. It's a kind of God doesn't just operate in that supernatural level all the time with us, but he goes in. Guess what? When this child was now healed, when she was now woken up, when she now came back to life, guess what? She came back to life hungry. Came back to life weak. So they had to give her food, because food was available to be given. She could have come back to life full for 3 days. Say yes. And then we'll be thinking about another miracle, about how the child was healed and she don't eat for 3 days. Then people will be going around about how you can have a miracle of not eating for 3 days because, but somehow there are certain things that God does. He goes into the supernatural. He does the supernatural and then blends it with the natural. Give her food. The miracle was not about food today. And there were days when he turned bread into what I felt to be when the miracle was about that. But today it wasn't about food. Today it was about life. And so that we can do the normal things. So, there are times when God will do the supernatural in your life and will want you to continue doing the natural. Lord, heal me for my back. He heals me for my back. But he doesn't want me to be sitting in chairs that are not comfortable for my back. I've been healed for my back, but don't sit in chairs that are not comfortable. Because you don't need to test me. I'm learning that from this message. And I'm sure my wife will repeat this to me many times to come. No problem. When he has done the supernatural, he wants us to live in the natural. And so that's why the woman is coming. Any questions before Pastor Jide come and do communion? Any questions? So I'll ask question, make comment so that we can give you 5 minutes to get ready. Yes. That's still not. I see that because you could see that it's a ghost. This child is eating, yeah, but that's still a natural thing. No, this is a natural process. The bit that we need to understand in this whole story is that one thing is common to these two stories, and that is faith. There is a woman who did not care about anybody, who did not take permission from anybody, who did not discuss with anybody, but tapped onto the faith that was available. That is faith. Whenever Jesus is standing, there is faith available. And you can tap onto it, you can get onto it without any ceremony. Now we know that. She didn't have to do everything. Now, and like as I put out earlier on, this is not a small thing. Both of them have the same thing happened to them, or things were happening to them for the same number of years, 12 years each side. The 12-year-old child and the person who has been suffering for 12 years. So, it's long term. And there is another time, we cannot always have that time. There is another time when our faith will be challenged by the unbelief of others. Our faith will be challenged by the news that require us to increase the level of faith. I was believing for Yetola to take me to the airport. Then I have to even believe more if a car is not functioning. And she's still going to take me to the airport. There's a level of faith that believes she will take me to the airport. There's another level that believes that the car will be repaired on time to take me to the airport. There's a level of faith that requires for Jarius to come and heal my daughter, and there's another level that says, my daughter is dead. What are you going to do about it? And that sometimes we find out. But most of the time we retreat. We abandon what we came for in the first place, and we retreat and accept our Lord because we don't believe. And the time has been like, okay, fine. What can we do? Maybe that's how God wants it. Many times we say, maybe that's how God wants it, only to justify our lack of faith to go to that next level. But then we are. We're learning. But Jesus does not accuse us. He tries to bring us and encourage us. Don't be afraid. Just continue to believe. Absolutely. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah.